These frameworks right here have helped me close over 7 figures in revenue easily. So pain, vision, gap, I love that framework because it's not about you, it's about the other person. You are only asking questions and you just have to remember, okay, I'm trying to illuminate the pain of this person. I'm not in a manipulative way, but to help them get clear on where they're at. So pain, in other words, where are you at? Vision, in other words, where are you going? What's your goal? Help them get clear on where they want to go on their vision. This is serving to them. On a free sales call, one of the most serving things you can do is helping the prospect get clear on their goals, because so many people actually have no idea where they want to go. They say they do, their goals are not specific. And so doing that is serving to them. And then gap, and then ask them, okay, what have you tried? Where do you need support? What do you need to do to get from where you're at to where you want to go? So widen the gap.
Yo. Hey guys, welcome back to the Holy Hustle podcast. I am pumped, ecstatic. In these early podcasts, you kind of got the friends, and I want to bring you not only great friends of mine, but God has truly blessed me with just networking and connecting and building deep relationships with people that are just weapons, people that love Jesus like crazy and are absolutely weapons in the business world. I'm just pumped to have my friend Austin Damon here. How are you, my man?
Oh, baby, so good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, just because, and this one's we banter. There's a lot of we joke around a lot. First of all, just because of how good looking Austin is, you should go subscribe, review. I do a review every month, $500 for a random person. And if you can review this, we just get this idea for Christian entrepreneurs, Holy Hustle, out to more people. Reviews really matter. That would mean a lot to me. So welcome to the show, my man.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, dude, super pumped. I'm going to kind of do a little spoiler real quick. So Austin Damon, the last name is actually very famous. Matt Damon, that's one. But there's another famous, equally as famous Damon, and it's the Damon system. So orthodontists for braces have been for the last 30, 40 years using the Damon systems to straighten teeth. I unfortunately did not get them, but my daughter has the Damon system. And when I first met my new dentist, and then when we went to take my daughter, I'm like, hey, do you know the Damons? Oh, we love it. That's what we use. I was like, yeah, I actually know the guy, well, I know his nephew. And so that's your family. And so you were on this path as a kid going to be an orthodontist. And so you actually became an entrepreneur and you've excelled at business. And, maybe when times got hard, you're like, man, maybe I should go back to school or whatever, but you are an entrepreneur. And can you talk a little bit about that journey, about why you didn't do that and how you became an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Well, hey, thanks for making me feel like $1 million, man. I appreciate it. You always make me feel better than I deserve.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, so I went to college to become an orthodontist because my father and uncles, and then my grandfather and his brothers, they've all been orthodontists. So it's been in the family for a long time. I played basketball in college, and my senior year, I actually wasn't able to play. I hurt my knee. I tell people, I've told you before, Alejandro, because this is true. I was just too athletic for my body. I was like a Derrick Rose, just a freak of nature, Definitely not true. I was just a slow white dude who stood behind the 3-point line and shot threes. But I had all this time my senior year because I wasn't playing basketball. So I just was hungry to learn. One day I got an email from this just coaching info product company teaching you how to build websites and rank them in Google. I had no idea what that even was, but I spent my life savings at the time, which was $5,000. That's how much the course was. I learned, and that just kind of started the trajectory of me thinking, maybe I want to actually support local business owners, entrepreneurs in what they're doing and in their goals, which ended up, which I'm sure we'll talk about here, just becoming a passion of mine, supporting other people, helping them win through strategy and business. So yeah, that's kind of the origin story, if you will, of the shift from thinking I was going to be an orthodontist like everybody else in my family to being a little bit more of an entrepreneur.
Bro, how was it at Thanksgiving? Or like, like everyone's like, hey, how many teeth did you clean today, Robert? It's like, what are you doing? How many, like how is the family like? Do they tease you? Is it, I don't know, like how was it kind of when you started out in business?
No, man, they've been so incredibly supportive. Yeah, my dad I have two brothers, and they're both in ministry. So
oh, wow.
All three of us let our dad down. He never put pressure on us. He always championed us. And I think
that is incredible.
It's part of the reason I think I just have confidence is because of what he's subconsciously instilled in me. So no, Thanksgiving is amazing. Plus I do a contest every Thanksgiving, weight gain contest to see who can eat the most turkey and mashed potatoes. So I'm usually just focused on that. I'm not worried about what other people are saying.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Bro, let's talk real quick about confidence, man. I think, it's something you had a dad. I didn't. I could say that kind of funny now. But thank God for my grandmother. My grandmother spoke life. She would always tell me who I was when I feel like life and my situations told me otherwise. Mm-hmm. She would always, man, she would just like, she was like a preacher to me, man. She'd be like, you're the head, not the tail, man. You're on top. You're right. And my grandma, that's crazy thing about my grandma, man, she made like $600 a month from like Social Security, and her bills were like $800. I had no idea how my grandma, and she was the most generous person. I don't know if she's like millions of dollars in debt but she still, wanted to instill some level. And so I think that's like probably my saving hope. But there's a lot of times in business in the beginning when I didn't have a lot of confidence. And I almost think now confidence is like a prerequisite for success. When you're making offers, when you have a business, like you gotta instill confidence in others to get them to buy. And we'll talk about sales intersect because you're one of the guys I go to when it comes to sales, how to make more deals happen. How important has the confidence been? Like, what would your dad, like, how would he inspire confidence in you? Because I think there's people that go, man, I want to do that for my kids. I want to instill confidence. I want to instill confidence in my friends and my family and my clients. How did your dad do it for you? And how are you doing it for others?
That's good. I would say my dad just encouraged me and spoke life into me and just called out what he saw in me, just the life and nature of God in me, just repeatedly speaking that to me where I would just believe it. I don't think you have to be confident to grow a big business that makes a lot of money. Fear can be a driver of that for sure. And I would honestly say it's a driver for most people. But if that's the driver, I don't think you will be deeply fulfilled. To be confident, I really think you have to have your eyes on others. If your eyes are on yourself, and your lens is inward, you really are going to be probably fear driven. Like that will be the reason you are wanting to grow a company. For you to be truly confident in who you are and in your business, you have to be others focused, and your mission, your goal really has to be to produce, to create, to bless others, to serve them, and to better them. And that can be through so many different industries, services, products, all kinds of stuff. So I would say those are just some thoughts on confidence.
I love that. I feel like confidence is key. It may not be a prerequisite because I'd probably still be broke if that was the case. It was a lot of fear. It was a lot of fear based. That really motivated me in the beginning. So you and I met several years ago from a mutual friend that you and I just love so dearly, Austin Dixon, another Stud. Austin. He's out there in Spokane from you. And he's like, bro, you gotta, just move back. You gotta, I love seeing your guys' lunch workout Instagram stories. But he's like, man, you gotta meet this guy. You guys are so similar and have, I think you guys can help each other a lot. And Austin, love you, buddy. Austin Dixon. But and at the time, you had an agency helping orthodontists. So you get into, you're doing the kind of rank and rent model, and then you end up starting an agency helping orthodontist. Can you just talk a little bit about over the last couple of years how you've kind of come to where you're at right now, which is a CMO, a fractional CMO. Yeah. And so you've done the agency thing, and there's probably agency owners that watch this, that follow what we do. And maybe the fractional CMO might be a model for them that they can actually think and even charge more. Can you talk a little bit about how you kind of morphed into a fractional CMO?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I actually started rank and rent sites for all kinds of different industries. And then out of that built an agency trying to do everything for everybody. Websites, SEO, social media, paid ads, content, all the things. And there was too much, there's too many variables, you're spread too thin. But I've helped businesses in a lot of different industries, whether that's home service businesses, dental, ortho, like you've talked about, B2B, finance. And so that was like 6-7 years. Then I started an agency. I finally was at peace. Just, you know what? I'm going to just help orthodontists and dentists. This is what my family does. I care about the industry. I always kind of ran from it because I wanted it to be, I guess, more sexy, if you will. I wanted to work with the Facebooks, the Snapchats, the new tech startups. But I was just finally, I just kind of had peace of, no, you know what? I'm going to go help these people who are doing good work in their community and serving people and bettering their communities thrive more. So yeah, I had an agency there for a while doing search engine marketing, essentially. And what we've just found is a lot of businesses need a little bit more than just agency work. They really need leadership. They need strategy leadership on a monthly basis. So we have adjusted our agency a little bit to go from your typical traditional digital marketing agency doing search engine marketing, paid ads, things like that, to adding this chief marketing officer piece where we'll meet with the company monthly, help them set out their quarterly goals, their KPIs they need to influence, key performance indicators, and then their projects. And then we'll hold them accountable and essentially like consult them to get to their goals. So now it's both. It's a digital marketing agency with a fractional CMO ongoing service. So yeah, that's the 30,000 foot view as to how I've gotten to where we're at now.
We've ran an agency for a while as well. And, I think one thing I would say about you that I just think of the word sales. It just comes to mind. You're a weapon at sales. I wouldn't say, I feel like naturally, just because of the marketing, Peter Drucker says the aim of marketing is to make sales superfluous. So I've always used marketing and content to kind of butter up people, collapse the know, like, and trust factor. You're like a pure, like you spent money, probably 6 figures on learning how to grow this stuff and become a better salesperson. I think there's certain agency owners that may feel like a great tactician. Maybe someone's really good at video marketing. Maybe someone's good at cold outreach. But would you say it's sales, the thing that you've kind of invested in the most to close more deals and to grow this agency? Or what would you say this is the thing that helped you most grow in this agency?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just having the mindset of providing value until someone just is like, you have offered me so much value, I just want to work with you, has really been helpful. So we'll send a lot of just free Loom videos, screen recording videos to businesses, just giving them the quote unquote secret sauce. And they're not actually going to implement, but if they want to, that's great. But usually, they go, wow, this is awesome. I want to work with Austin and his team. So I'd say that's been huge. But yeah, sales kind of gets a bad rap. Really, it's just getting someone to agree with your mission. And there's good missions out there. There's bad missions, and then there's mixed bag missions where some of it's good, some of it's bad. But if you believe in your mission, then you better be good at sales, because it's your job to get someone to be on board with that. So yeah, I have invested well over $100,000 in sales, like negotiation, the psychology behind that. And I would be lying if I said some of that wasn't selfish intent, but I would say God has been gracious. And as I am growing as an entrepreneur, I really am learning to use that in service to others. And I'm never trying to, put someone in a headlock. If they don't want to work with us, that's totally fine. And what's weird, and I think you're the one who told me this, neediness is creepiness. What's weird is when you're not needy, and you don't force the deal, they're attracted to you more and they actually want to work with you more. So it's almost like the less you try, the more deals you close. So
one thing, and I love sales. I think just personality wise, I think people, I think there's an attraction, just that personality, but not everybody has that. They got to use words and they got to use certain different types of things to latch onto as kind of their sales mechanism, if you will. When it comes to sales, I think we're always being sold something. We're either selling or we're buying into other people's idea. And I think, you said it best, like sales gets a bad rap. There's a book up there called Influence, and it's, the weapons of persuasion. And here's what I would say about sales. Persuasion done wrong is manipulating people to do what's best for Alejandro, for me. It's very selfish. I think influencing people is persuading people to do what we believe with our fiduciary responsibility to do what's best with them. And what I would say, and you kind of hit it, God's been gracious. Like, I feel like we got to know when we're manipulating, is this self-serving, or when we're actually, man, I actually know I can help this person. They need this and we can help level up their business. What are some of the things that you think about though, to make sure that you're not doing it with selfish intent?
That's really good. I have a mentor who's just been a gift to me, who has one of his practices throughout his entire working career has been, before every phone call, just say, Lord, help me on this call. And just that little just conscious acknowledgement of God. I don't know, it's nothing overly, spiritual. It's just, you're here, God. And in his presence, when I am more aware of his presence and that he's with me, I'm automatically going to just be more inclined to be like him. And he is all about the other, about serving the other. I mean, Jesus came to, serve and not be served. So that was the king. How much more am I to do that? Like, I don't deserve anything yet. I often think I deserve everything. So yeah, I would say that's been incredibly helpful. Also, just actually making the money, closing the deals, and realizing this isn't satisfying. Like I've not saying I'm some cajillionaire, but I've, kind of gotten to a place where we can pretty much do most of the things we want. And it's just not, like you said, selling to serve me. I love how you said that, Alejandro, as opposed to selling to influence, just is not near as satisfying. I really think that's reality. I don't think that's for some people and not others. I think that is a universal truth. Those who start businesses, who sell, who market to influence, to influence and better the lives of others, are so much more satisfied than those who start businesses, sell, market to just better their own life. And that doesn't mean you can't have goals. You absolutely should. But just through that lens, life and business is so much more satisfying.
I couldn't agree more. So on the topic of sales, let's get practical here for some folks. It's like, I think the people that listen to this podcast, they have the humility to put us in their ears or watch us on YouTube to go, man, I want to take away something here. And they're ready to learn. They have the humility. I think one of the traits I've been grateful for is I try not to be a know-it-all. I want to be a learn-it-all. I always want to be learning from someone. And so you're an absolute master when it comes to sales. And we have these things called offers. We're on sales calls. We have websites. We have pitches. We have emails that we send out to people that have some sort of our social media. There's a lot of different communication where we can sell and make offers. What would you say are a couple, like, hey, if you were taking someone like, man, I'm doing sales, but I'm not getting the results that I want, you might want to hear their sales calls and everything. But at the highest level, what are a couple of things that people could do right now to increase their sales conversion rates?
That's a great question. I would say, if you're listening to this, if you're driving, stop, whip out a piece of paper and some pen. These frameworks right here have helped me close over, over 7 figures in revenue easily. So pain vision gap, that comes from Scott Oldford. So I love that framework because it's not about you, it's about the other person. You are only asking questions, and you just have to remember, okay, I'm trying to illuminate the pain of this person, not in a manipulative way, but to help them get clear on where they're at. So pain, in other words, where are you at? Vision, in other words, where are you going? What's your goal? Help them get clear on where they want to go on their vision. This is serving to them on a free sales call. One of the most serving things you can do is helping the prospect get clear on their goals, because so many people actually have no idea where they want to go. They say they do, but their goals are not specific. And so doing that is serving to them. And then gap, and then ask them, okay, what have you tried? Where do you need support? What do you need to do to get from where you're at to where you want to go? So widen the gap. And then at that point, then you can describe your solution. Most people on sales calls just go right into their solution. Then the other person doesn't feel heard. So before you really even talk about what you do those 3 things. That is a game changer. And then the other framework that I then use to describe the solution. So once you've done pain, vision, gap, you can say, okay, yeah, totally understand where you're at, Alejandro. I mean, do you want me to explain a little bit about how I help? And then of course they're going to say yes. Then
permission-based, right?
Yes. And there's tons of ways to describe your solution. Really, you want to convey your thing is unique and is going to help them. Like at that point, they know they have a problem. They know they're not where they want to be. So now they're thinking, okay, is Austin's thing the best for me? Alejandro's going, okay, yeah, I get it, but is Austin's thing the best for me? So there's different ways to do that. The framework I love, which actually comes from Austin Dixon, he created this. He's just a marketing wizard. It's called the motor method, and I love to use it. So it's myth. He calls it mistake. I like mess, truth, result. So myth. So then describe, okay, here's probably what you've tried, the myth that you believed would work to get you to your goal. Here's the mess it created. In other words, here's the pain. And you're kind of just reiterating the pain they're in. So they feel heard. Then they're like, oh, this dude knows, he's got my mail. He's reading my mail. He knows where I'm at. And then truth. So this is actually what you need to do. And that's when you're talking about your methodology, your thing, your process, your product, how it's unique. And then here's the truth. And then here's the result. And then you're speaking back to their vision, where they want to go. So those frameworks are a game changer. Pain, vision, gap. That's a very serving framework to people. That's the most important one. And then the next one, the game changer of how to describe your solution, your thing, is the motor method. Myth, mess, truth, result. And I would say if you can memorize that and rep that, you will get so much better at sales. And even if you never close the deal, just doing pain, vision, gap would be so serving to people. That is coaching in of itself. So yeah, those are a couple helpful things that have really gotten me to the next level in my business and my team.
This is a masterclass in sales. And again, you and I are so close to it. So for you, it's like, but man, for people that are struggling or have hit maybe they've blown out their pipeline of their existing audience, and now they got to go a little colder market. Now they got to start growing their audience. The conversion rate on warm is different than cold. So you got to use these methods in order to, you said it earlier, people want leadership. They want to be led. And I think that coaching and leadership is something that moves people closer to bond with you and closer to the sale. Ultimately is what happens. TD Jakes, I heard him say one time, a doctor can't diagnose you unless you're naked. And I think what the best salespeople do is they elevate a level of vulnerability in the other person. Like, this person sees me. Like, they're reading my mail. And I think when they feel seen, or they feel a level of this person has, there's empathy, I noticed that the guards completely, one of the things I do is I've learned this from Oprah Winfrey. And when you hear, yeah, I do. When you hear about the pain, it's someone like, tell me a little bit more about that. She always, like, she'd lean in. Yeah. Can you tell me more about that? And just shut up. And people start to be vulnerable. And I think when vulnerability starts and humility starts to come, like, their guards stop and they feel that they're being led, and that you might be the person to help them with sales. So would you use both of these frameworks? So you're doing that initial one, and then to describe your method or your unique method. Is that is that on a sales call, or is like in one or an email or whatever you do, or how are you doing that? Like, where does that fit in the process?
Yeah. Before I answer that question, that was really good what you said. And were you also saying, you mentioned that TD Jakes quote on being naked. Are you saying it would be helpful if you're naked while doing sales calls?
If your picture, they say in presentations, like when they teach it, if you picture your audience naked, you'll be fine. I'm just joking.
Okay.
You've heard that one,
That. Yeah. That's actually the secret to all my success.
That's hilarious. No, so is this in one process? Because what you're doing, man, that pain vision gap is powerful, and you'll be 80% better, right? So like, is this all in one calls and a couple calls? Like, how is it when you're, especially because a lot of people that might be, watching this have higher ticket, kind of more premium products. So they're probably using things like sales calls and VSLs and things of that sort, video sales letters. So speak to that.
Yeah, it really depends on who your audience is, your avatar, what you're selling. And I think people also get tripped up. I got tripped up so long on what's the ideal blueprint, like the framework for, should I do one call? Should I do two calls? Should I not do any calls? It can be crippling. And I would just say, there is so much information out there, and there are objective realities and truths and things that work better than others. But there's also a lot of gray area with strategy and business in general. So it's usually best to just test and be free. Don't let a process, and I'm speaking from real experience here, don't let a process or a framework or the pursuit of the perfect blueprint cripple you. Don't let it be constraining. Your process should be supportive. Be free there. With that said, we do a 2-call close because no one really wants to get, they don't want to do the full pitch on one call. It's usually better to build rapport and, not try to offer them anything on the first call for high ticket, in my opinion. So we do a 20-minute pain vision gap phone call with a brief, here's how we help. And then we always go, so, does that sound like it'd be of value to you? And if they say no, then great. I don't have to waste my time, or my salesperson doesn't have to waste his time on a longer call. If they say yes, then we go, okay, awesome. So here's probably how I think we could be the most helpful is, getting on a screen share call, yada, 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 share a free strategy with you, show you our framework, pull back the curtain, all this stuff. And then you schedule the next call, which is where you can do a longer call. I like to do Zoom calls and do a screen share of a pitch deck. And then you can use that motor method there to kind of go myth, mass, truth, result, and also just provide them a ton of value. And we also do like a free 10-minute strategy session where we will actually go, hey, here's where the gaps are in your business. It sounds like where you're struggling. Here are 2 or 3 things I would go do. And then, we show them the offer, $100 million offers, Alex Hormozi's book. If you haven't read that, it'll be the best book you've read all year, in my opinion, just on how to make your thing easier to sell. So then you put together an offer and it increases perceived value of your thing, value stacking, you can use bonuses, guarantees, all that stuff. And then that's basically that's the gist of it. So,
man, I love that. One thing you said earlier about your offer and it being unique, because I think there's a lot of people that prevent them because they don't have to move forward because they don't have clarity. Like, mine just looks like everyone else, or someone selling something else. The first thing I'd say is like, if there was only one barber in a city, that'd be really weird, right?
Yeah.
But there's like 50. Now there's like 100. Everyone's a barber, I feel like, and so it's like you go to Booksy or whatever. It's like, man, I got so many people doing it out their home now, and so their backyard or garage. So how do I make my offer unique and stand out when I feel that maybe not reality? We have to think like maybe this isn't real, but how do I make it better?
Great question. I like what you said about Barbara. If there was a Barbara listening to this, you probably insulted Barbara. So,
Barber.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I think if you look at a lot of businesses out there, we live in this age of the internet where we're seeing like the 1% of the 1% businesses. We all want to start the next Facebook, but you can fact check me on this, but I think the 4th or 5th richest lady in the world owns a roofing business. So there are tons of businesses out there that are the same that just serve a common need of, a lawn care business, dry cleaning, all kinds of businesses. So I would say just actually focusing on the service or product and doing it better than other people is really where you should start. If you aren't referable, then it's going to be hard to grow because you're not going to have a compounding business. You're just going to have to go out and get more deals. Like the fastest way to grow is word of mouth, even though that's not really a strategy. The strategy is making your thing better than everybody else. So I would say that's really the most important before even doing creating an offer. And how you do that is by taking imperfect action and just going out and bring your thing to the marketplace and then let them tell you where it stinks. And then you'll make it better. Perfect inaction is not good. Imperfect action is way better. So I would start there. And then you can build an offer. I mean, honestly, the answer to your question there, Alejandro, as you know, is in the book, $100 million offers. But just ask, where are the problems? Where are my customers' problems? Like, what are they? List them all out. And Alex Hormozi is a genius. He teaches you how to do this very well. And then, okay, what are the potential solutions I could offer to those problems? It doesn't even need to be what you would end up doing, but just do a brain dump. And then ask, okay, what could I actually deliver? And think outside the box. It doesn't have to be your industry norm. And then you value stack those. So then you line item all those things and say, this is everything you get. And then most people would say, hey, we offer, plumbing. Well, that's the offer. That's not really an offer. The offer is just the nuts and bolts of what you're promising in exchange for money. So don't just say plumbing, like line item every single thing that they get in that process. So that's kind of some good ways to make it unique. Then you can add bonuses, guarantees, to increase perceived value. So,
what's also helpful too, I think, is specificity. I was talking about this the other day. 10 years ago, you could say, I run Facebook ads for entrepreneurs. It's like, cool. I'm an entrepreneur. That's me. But now I feel like, I run Facebook ads for high ticket coaches, or I run Facebook ads for SaaS startups, I run. And so really what Austin's saying too is, that there's a difference between a product and an offer. You got your product, that is the roofing, but an offer is everything that you put around that to, I guess, elevate the value of the actual thing. And so, I think that's really important. Sometimes, I would even venture to say, like, sometimes then you start naming certain things. It's like, the pain vision gap method, it's like you've named it and you kind of start to own that thing. I remember Pat Flynn did this years ago, and it's kind of where the idea of naming, a lot of people were talking about content distribution. Man, if you could take one blog or podcast, you could turn it into a blog, you could turn it into 17 articles, you could do this, you could from 17 different things from one podcast. And everyone's like, content distribution. He's like, hey, here's my be everywhere strategy. And so you could actually start to name some of the processes in your offer, in the value that you create for your specific product. Well,
you're great at naming things, I think. I mean, in our times of hanging out, you've come up with awesome names.
Sadie, Loren Reyes, my daughter, and Bella Mia Reyes. I think they're great names.
Great names. Holy Hustle. I love that
Holy
name.
Hustle.
Alliteration. That's a beautiful name. So good.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, man. Well, let's talk about, like, over the last few years. I feel like you've been on this journey to be more intentional with your walk with God. I give you a hard time about this because I just want to see you more on social media. You read the elimination of hurry, or right? Is that
ruthless elimination of hurry. Yeah.
Ruthless elimination of when you have the ruthless elimination of hurry. When you read that, you kind of like disconnected a little bit on social media. And I was selfish because I'm like, I want my bro, I want to see him. I'm sending you memes and, like, I just want to see my buddy's life. And you kind of took a step back from social media. And I felt like you didn't just take a step back, but you pivoted and kind of turn towards just deepening your relationship with God. Now, I'm not here to say, and Austin's not here to shame you, social media is not bad, but I do think there's a level today, reality. Look at your watch. Look at how much time you spend each week. Look at your screen time. There's a reality that it is a slot machine, and we get dopamine hits from this thing. So sometimes if you're looking like this, you're not looking up at your family, if you're not looking up at your business, if you're not looking at the good things that are happening in your life, I think sometimes this could be a distraction. And can you talk a little bit about that journey back then? I think that was a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's good.
Last week. No, I'm just joking.
I know. Yeah, I know. I mean, that was kind of my identity for a while. I was trying to, build the following and found false identity there. And was also just consuming a lot of content. But yeah, I like what you said. There's nothing bad about social media. It's really just a tool. Like it's not a being. It doesn't have a soul. So there couldn't be evil or wrong in it. It's literally just a tool. But yeah, I guess I just, I read that book, and then that just kind of started a trajectory of asking more questions. Like what is work for? What is good work? Is social media helpful? I mean, why? I mean, really deep questions, more so of why am I here? What is my purpose? And I really just believe with all my heart that not just my purpose, every person on this planet's purpose is to know God and to love him and be loved by him and to enjoy him and to be in relationship with him. And that can sound kind of vague, but no, it's really to actually have mindful conversations with him. And then also deep soul, secret soul conversations with God. That's one of my favorite books, The Practice of the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence. He says that. And I was not doing that at all. And really it's just because my cognitive attention was elsewhere, oftentimes social media, and it was very much so a distraction. And then I do believe that also affected my nervous system and just causing anxiousness. I was in fight or flight a lot more than I needed to be because I was in this other world of social media, looking at all these people who are living these lives. And obviously we all know that's just kind of the highlight reel, as we call it. So I really just wasn't I wasn't practicing the presence of God. And all I mean is I wasn't communing with him. And I think when we do that, we will be the most fulfilled and the most satisfied. And then our work, our marriages, your relationship with friends, with kids, all areas of life, if it's informed by that relationship, that practical relationship with God, you'll just be way more fulfilled. So that's like a hefty answer to why I have chosen to get off social media. I still have all the accounts so people can see I'm cool and have, followers and stuff. But I don't log in, man. I haven't done that. And I'm not saying that's for everybody, but I would say it's probably for most people. And until you can really get to a place where you can master social media, it's a great servant, terrible master. And if you at all feel like it's mastered you, it is pulling you from goodness, from the goodness of God. And you could say that for so many things, though, not just social media. I mean, tons of stuff. So for me, social media just was one of those. I was spending too much time on it. It was also too much of an identity. I wanted to create content, not that content is good, but yeah. So long answer long to your question there, brother. Hope that answered.
No, I think that's really good. But I just think, and maybe it's not social media. I had this game downloaded on my phone called Clash Royale.
Oh, great game.
And great, man. Now you want me to? Now I'm download it again. No, but what I'm saying is, I had this thing, and every single morning I get up like clockwork, bro. One of the first things I do before I even acknowledge my Lord was when I'm in bed at night. If I get some more and yeah, bro, I'm clashing, bro, with the Pekka, and the hog, And so here's the reality, man, is I had to delete it. And I didn't delete because I was like, oh my God, like my life. I just was like, man, I actually don't need this. And I think there's so many things that we just don't need if we really start to think about it. And if we can, I just, if you draw near to him, he'll draw near to you, man. And I just think intention, looking up intention. And sometimes we're so looking down at and life can truly pass us by. I love what Gary Vee says. He says, someone said the best piece of advice. It was like on the women. It's a video he did, went viral. And he said something, he said, 4 words or something like that. He said, you're going to die. 3 words of advice. You're going to die. And he ended up talking about it later. But the reality is not to get it weird, but we we need to be good stewards. Like, Genesis 1:26-28 just talks so much about, we were created, our original purpose was to steward and partner with God to create cultures and civilizations and to work. So I love the holy hustle. We work hard for God's glory, right? And so I would begin, for those that are watching, to really think about, man, what are some of the things that I can cut out so that I can focus on friends, so that I can focus on family, so that I can focus on my relationship. Or for some of those folks that may not, I got some friends and people randomly that might not be a Christian right now, but they just like good content and they're exploring and maybe there's some things you can cut out to explore. Man, why am I here?
Yeah.
What is my purpose? Why am I here? Austin is one of the most searched things on Google.
Yeah.
People are trying to, and in a world right now when identity is like, there's so much tension. People are telling you, we used to say this in branding, it's either you define your brand or someone else is going to define it for you. And if you don't figure out your own identity, someone else is going to push it on you, and that's going to form you. And so what I would say is really start to get away and cut things out in order to try to find some level of what my purpose is, et cetera, right?
That is fire. That's hot sauce right there.
That's a little tapatio right there for you. No, but I really appreciate that for you. And I kind of, say all that, you went through like a very, which I don't think is talked about a lot. You hear it every once in a while, but you and your wife, your bride, went through, just a really terrible time, a terrible season a few years ago. Y'all lost, a baby, and, you have a beautiful baby girl now, but at the time, something like that, my wife works in the NICU. And, and just the stories that you hear, these little babies are, they don't make, and you hear so much loss of women that go through this and families that go through this. And I think for me, you're a tough guy, man. But for me, man, I'm just like, I'm like, man, I'd probably question God. I'd be pissed.
Yeah.
And so, man, I just love to hear how you got through that. It could have really crushed your life, and you could have you went to become a barista and not want to continue to pursue all that God has for you. So can you walk through a little bit of that story? And for those that are listening, I asked for permission for Austin to share this story. So it's not something I'm bringing out of left field, but would you mind sharing a little bit about that story and how God, how you navigated and how God came through for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So my wife, she had 2 miscarriages. One was earlier, one was later on in the pregnancy. And yeah, I honestly didn't not want to have kids. I wanted to have kids, but my wife kind of convinced us to get married. I would have waited longer. She convinced us to buy a house. I would have waited longer. She convinced me to have kids. I would have waited longer. So she is the best. She's just more mature than me and just an overall better person. So I need her to kind of help me grow up, become more of a man. She calls out the king in me, not the little boy. I appreciate that about her. That was hard, very difficult. And God, Matt, he was just, I have never more tangibly felt his presence throughout that time. And I would say my wife and I didn't totally know how to be there for her, because the man kind of moves on, and it's way more difficult for the woman. And because it's more physical, it's closer, she's thinking about it way more. So we had to really learn how to communicate better. I had to learn how to practically be there for her. And then in that, I would just say our relationship with the Lord together was just massively strengthened. And like a practical example of that is the softening of my heart and the desire to be a father just exploded after that loss. And now getting to be a father of a little girl, and then we have a little boy on the way, praise God, is just, I just look back and go, wow, the transformation is so cool. And I'm not saying God at all, made those things happen. Obviously, he allowed them to happen, and he can do whatever the heck he wants. This is his world. But yeah, I don't think he wanted those things to happen at all. Like, I'm sure that that is not of his character, but he used that to really like massively grow me up, and mature me and just soften my heart towards children and towards people and towards my wife. So yeah, man, it's been really cool. My wife has just been she's been there for dozens of women who have had miscarriages. And it's just a weird thing because it's not talked about. The baby wasn't born. So some people are like, is it lost? Is it not? I mean, we believe it is. And, you know, the baby was developing, had a heartbeat. We had been in for ultrasounds. So, yeah. So, and then she's been able to be there for many other women and support them, care for them, speak truth to them, and also just have compassion and come alongside them. And I really admire my wife. She's done that for many women and many different areas of life. So yeah, that was a tough experience, but yeah, it was good. I also had to run a business during that time and learn how to, it made me a better business owner because I didn't have as much bandwidth. I was tired. So I learned how to create better systems, processes, learned how to be a better leader and speak more on the what and the why, and then go find who's to help me accomplish goals, which I think is, good leadership. So it made me learn a lot in the business world as well.
What would you say, like, what did you learn about God that maybe you hadn't already known, or what became even more evident for you that you just look back and there's a phrase or there's something about that experience? They just like, man, I don't know. Like, is there something that you look back and you learned about God or yourself?
Yeah, just that he cares. Like, you hear that all the time. If you've grown up in church, just you hear so many times, oh, God loves you, Jesus loves you. And your heart can almost become numb to that. Hopefully it doesn't. Mine was a little bit, a little calloused. It was just such a powerful reminder that God is not just this religion, this idea, this tradition. Like, he is a being to be known, and he wants to know me. And that was just a reminder for me. Like, God is so just integrated into the details of my life, and he cares about the little details. And I mean, who am I? I'm like one person of how many people are on the world? 7, 8 billion people. And if you look at, history, I mean, hundreds of billions of people who have lived. I don't deserve that. I'm just one dude, but he cares. And so I would say that time, like, I remember and I've memorialized that time to just remind me God cares about the little things. And I just felt it in the deepest part of my soul, my being, just that he was there with us.
Yeah, man, that is incredible, bro. Well, I love you. I want to commend you for, talking about that, sharing your experience. I think there's a lot of people that go through things and they just think sometimes you just don't have anyone to talk to. It can be very lonely. And so I just appreciate you and appreciate your friendship, man.
Thanks,
you've been
man.
such a great friend, an inspiration. I just, sometimes with friends and you guys maybe, relationships, sometimes you don't see people often, but when you do see or get a glimpse or connect or a text, and you hear the updates that people are, it's just like it inspires you. So you always inspire me, your love for God, your love for your family. It just really inspires me, man. And I think a lot of people are going to get so much out of this, because unfortunately they're not going to get much from you on social media.
Maybe someday again.
Maybe someday.
I'm not saying it's a forever.
You got 11,000 people that want to hear from you, bro. And anyways, well, bro, last couple questions, how can people follow what you do? How can people connect and I know you're kind of private right now, but how can people connect with you or follow what you do?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram, I'm not posting much content on Instagram right now. I am on LinkedIn, and then Growth Honcho is the website for that fractional CMO agency. And, right now my focus is building that out, but in the near future, I would say, I don't want to skip steps. I want to steward what I feel God is calling me to right now. But in the next, year to 2 years, I do plan on getting back on those platforms and creating content, and specifically building a business for men in the marketplace, for men who just love to create, to build, to produce, entrepreneurship, if you will, really to help them know God more deeply and learn to integrate him practically into every area of their life, and then to have a resource of community to come together and have accountability and frameworks for, goal setting. I call it the vision to reality framework. So yeah, that'll be in the future. That's how you could connect with me. You're not going to get much value or content there on social media, but it will be something that I shift my focus to in the somewhat near future. But right now, focused on growing Growth Honcho and building a team here, and scaling this bad boy. So yeah,
that's awesome. And I love that you have clarity. I love you're scaling it. I think it's incredible. Well, bro, last couple of questions, if you could travel back in time and give your younger self some advice, maybe when you were starting or a time where you were struggling, what encouragement and advice would you give younger Austin?
Wow. You are such a good question asker. What a guy. I wish you asked me questions this well, all the time. I wish you'd come hang out with me in Spokane.
We're doing it. We're making it happen soon.
Up here. I shouldn't say that. I never come down to see you. You've come up here more than I have. That's a great question. What would I tell my younger self? What advice would I give? I would say two things. One would be just very practically, it goes back to that imperfect action is way better than perfect inaction. I think if you look at the best business people, entrepreneurs, whatever the industry, they took imperfect action and believed done is better than perfect. And how I'm going to make it more perfect is by letting the market tell me what is good and what is bad. So create a minimum viable product or service, process. Just create a thing and sell it a few times, and then get feedback on how good it is. And you'll get feedback by people who pay you will automatically tell you with their money and sometimes their mouth if it's good or not. And then you will way, way quicker be able to make your thing better. So if I could go back in time, I would say, hey man, perfectionism is killing you. You're just sitting here behind a computer planning way too much. You don't need to work on a logo right now. Like go sell your thing and get feedback. So I would say, I would tell myself, take imperfect action and trust that as you do that, you'll actually get to your goal way, way faster than trying to plan some perfect thing. And then the other thing would be, I think in work, people are always trying to, everyone wants success. No one wants to be forgotten. So that is just a universal truth. So people want to build something to be remembered and to have success. And I would say I was just like crippled by this thought for so long of how can I build something that lasts? Because I want to be remembered. I want to matter. I want to be fulfilled. And I just woke up every day and was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this agency thing. Should I do something else? And, I've built a lot of different businesses, most of them that failed. And so I think when you realize the only way to actually last, the only way to be remembered forever is to be grafted into what God's doing and into his kingdom, which kingdom is oftentimes an overused term that doesn't make sense. It's just his reign and rule on earth. When you are grafted into that and you're like, I want to be a part of that, then that is the only way you will be remembered forever. That is the only way you will last, because we will die and, even the greatest of people get forgotten. So I would say if I could tell my younger self, believe this and work to uncover the reign and rule of God, like work to uncover his goodness, because that is what he calls us to. Work was before the world got messed up and human beings missed the mark. Work is a good thing. Work for that, and you will actually find the satisfaction and peace you're looking for, and you will feel that you matter. I wish I could have convinced myself of that earlier, where really I was just trying to pursue, how can I build something for me so other people respect me and see me as successful? So yeah, I would say, to sum that up, working for God's glory as opposed to mine. Really, it sounds kind of backwards, but it's weird. It's actually what's fulfilling, So yeah, that's what I tell my younger self.
Yeah. And I think you've done really good work just knowing you the last few years, several years, like, you are doing that. And I love the intentionality that you have for that. So bro, last question, man, what is your definition of holy hustle?
Ooh, what a question. I love it. I mean, honestly, I would say I kind of answered it in the last question. I would say my definition is holy hustle would be working, creating, producing to uncover like the reign and rule of God in this world so that more people can, like, for the good of others, so more people can flourish, so more people can be fulfilled, so more people can have life and succeed, you know, in having that life. So yeah, that's what I would say. Like if I could sum it up, I would say the holy hustle to me is using my gifts, my skills to really uncover God's goodness, his character, his reign, and his rule in this world to glorify him and to benefit other people.
Drop the mic, bro. I love it, man. Well, bro, I love you. I appreciate you. This has been tremendous. And man, I'm excited for people to learn more in the future about that men's group that you're going to be working on. It's going to help thousands and hundreds and thousands of men. And,
Thanks,
really, man, I'm excited for you, bro. So love you. Appreciate you.
I love
Thanks
you.
for doing this with me.
Thank you. You're the man, Alejandro.